This bulletin proudly brought to you in association with Alex Campbell's Menswear.
Kia ora, good evening. Welcome to the South today. I'm Daryl Baser. Today is the second day of New Zealand's transition to Level 2 restrictions in the response to the spread of COVID-19. The 3 days of no new cases being reported has been broken, with the Ministry of Health reporting a weak positive test result today. The Ministry says the result comes from community testing around Auckland's Marist cluster. The demolition of the former Cadbury factory in Dunedin to make way for the new hospital is progressing steadily. Despite the site being closed for a month while the country was in lockdown due to COVID-19. A giant can opener slices through a tin roof like a hot knife through butter. The 4 sections of the former Cadbury factory's storage sheds fall to the ground.
The excavator, he's got a set of shears on the end of his machine which will essentially nibble out each individual piece of steel and try and reduce weight in the building prior to bringing large items down to the ground and sorting through that and then taking it off for recycling. Media
were escorted through the site today to document progress so far. Ministry of Health Program Manager Mike Barnes says it's the first step in the huge project.
So we have 3 blocks on the site that we need to demolish to make way for the new hospital. We have a warehouse just behind us, which is a simple steel structure building, a single-storey building. So we've engaged in that, done the soft strip out on that, and we're now in the demolition phase of that.
Barnes estimates it'll take contractors about a month to completely demolish the storage shed. RCP Projects Manager Blair Colley says they're making the project as environmentally friendly as possible, which is easier with the more modern buildings on site.
A huge percentage can be recycled. A lot of it will go, so there's a lot of small steel, light gauge steel, and then there's obviously heavy mould steel. So they all go to different places for recycling. Concrete can be recycled. The only type of waste would be the likes of the insulation, things like that. Yep.
With pieces of roof falling in front of the large hole in the St Andrews Street wall, which was pulled down yesterday, Mike Barnes says a lot of work is going on behind the scenes to make sure this project runs smoothly.
I think making sure we're doing it right, because we spend a lot of time on our program, making sure that we're not creating too much expectation, making sure we're touching base with all the right stakeholders, and with the phase, it's a long-term project. We want to start it right and finish it right.
It's the first phase of the demolition of the buildings to make way for the new Dunedin hospital, and those in charge of the process say gaining resource consent to safely remove hazardous materials, including asbestos, from the older buildings on site is still ongoing. In Dunedin, the South today. The Ministry of Health has reported no new COVID-19 cases in the Southern District today. The region's total remains at 216, with 4 active cases. 210 people have now recovered, while 2 people in the Southern District have died as a result of COVID-19. It's now been 27 days since a new case was reported in the Southern District. A dedicated group of climate activists gathered in Dunedin's Octagon today ahead of school pupils returning to the classroom on Monday. The small group taking part wrote messages in chalk on the pavement.
As schools prepared to reopen on Monday, pupils across Otago and Southland went on strike again today, protesting the lack of action on climate change. While the last school strike for climate attracted thousands of protesters to Dunedin's main street, today's was on a much smaller scale, with a group of about 5 pupils gathering in Dunedin's Octagon this morning. Logan Park pupil Dante Dawes says the strike served as a reminder the world was still facing a climate crisis.
Given the recent, pandemic and all, we haven't been able to protest the way we want to, and we still want to remind people that this is still an issue, and that we know we can come together as a country and do great things as we've proven, and that we should continue on with this kind of thing.
Instead of a street march, the strikers drew messages and pictures of clean rivers, flourishing native forests, and other environmentally friendly images in chalk around the Octagon. Dawes says the way people have tackled the current COVID-19 pandemic shows real action can be made when people come together.
As we've shown as a country, we can come together and do like these great things. And if we continue on with that, with like the coming together, with being an independent country and with not having like such an emphasis on tourism, then we can greatly help the climate and all of our precious wildlife through that.
Those unable to go outside to strike were able to take part in the movement online and were encouraged to chalk their driveways with messages or hang banners from their windows. Dawes says the strikers' climate message was finally getting through to the wider public and the protesters were well received.
What I have noticed personally as a participant is a lot more positivity on the street from passerbyers during protests and a lot more of like a generally supportive atmosphere from the public. So it is helping, yes.
Today's strike is part of a glowing global movement which started when schoolgirl Greta Thunberg sat outside the Swedish Parliament in 2018. In Dunedin, the South today.
The Dunedin City Council has voted to temporarily reduce the speed limit on George Street north of the Octagon to 10 kilometres an hour. The council says it'll also be a shared space for cars, bikes and pedestrians. The South Today spoke with a handful of residents this afternoon.
It's ridiculous. You can't do that. Like 10k, you do more than that going up a driveway, you know, and especially with all the buses going down here, they're not going to do 10k. They can't do 10k. They're already late enough as it is.
I think it's a really good idea. It makes it easier for pedestrians. We don't come to town much, but it would be really good to have a shared space with everyone, I think, and that speed limit would be good.
Oh, I think it's great. I love bike riding in the last 2 months during the lockdown, and I think it gives people access to be out in the environment without cars around them. But I know some people in Dunedin hate it, so good luck with that.
Well, as long as they keep it open, I'm not really too bothered about the speed limit, as long as they keep the traffic open, because our whole of Dunedin street needs to be accessible with cars for businesses to remain open.
And still to come on the South Today, we see how a former service station has become repurposed and look at a t-shirt fundraiser that's a cut above. See you after the break.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم المؤمن المهيمن العزيز الجبار المتكبر.
Alex Campbell Menswear are back and open to orders during Level 3, only by phone or email, and that's all 3 stores, Monday to Saturday 10 a.m. to 2 p.m.
Alex Campbell Menswear, it fits.
Thank you for the support.
Heaven Sent Pet Cremations knows that losing a pet is like losing a family member, and we have many special ways for you to keep their memory dear to your heart. From caskets, remembrance pendants to remembrance fairs. Call Heaven Sent Pet Cremations today.
A poorly maintained heat pump can lose up to 35% of its output. The Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner team are experts. Their specially developed chemical wash is totally biodegradable. Call Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner and get the job done by the professionals.
Do you know Youth Grow in Northeast Valley? It's an awesome plant nursery where young people can work and learn life skills. You can now order your vegetable seedlings, herbs, bulbs and shrubs over the phone or by email. Either pick up your order on Norwood Street in Northeast Valley or they can deliver to you. Look for Youth Grow Garden Centre on Facebook or visit youthgrow.org.nz. Happy gardening!
Step into Shop on Carroll and discover a shop full of treasures. We have a fantastic range of vintage and retro clothes, upmarket clothing labels, collectible items, beautiful jewellery, quality linen and the best range of vintage haberdashery.
Wrens are Otago's painting, tiling and plastering experts. Offering a free measure and quote, Wrens is a name you can trust to get the job done right. Call Wrens today on 477 9384 or visit wrens.co.nz.
Inside are all sorts of innovations from all over China.
Welcome back. 6 months ago, a Milton retiree finally managed to buy the place which she'd had her heart set on since the 1990s. The former Graham Paul Motors garage in Clarksville is now serving as an oasis of birds and plants for its new owner.
What was once the old Atlantic garage in Clarksville, just south of Milton, is now home for retiree Gemmel Johansson. It's a place she first tried to buy almost 25 years ago, but former owner Graham Paul wasn't ready to sell at the time.
It's such an idyllic environment. We might be on the main road, but it's a little oasis of animals and plants and birds and everything that we absolutely adore.
While repairing the building, a fantail nest was purposely left undisturbed.
It's the fantails that really get you. The thrushes, there's sparrows, there's thrushes, there's bellbirds, there's all sorts. And it's just incredible listening to them all the time.
Her dream is to slowly refurbish the place back to looking like it did when it was an Atlantic fuel stop in the 1960s. The old petrol bowsers were located for her by locals who had been keeping an eye out for what she needed.
And one pump was given to us, the other one we were bought, but they were sourced on old farms. You know, they've been sort of tucked away and they'd been filled with birds' nests and stuff like that. So we've been lucky. Very hard to get.
In Clarksville, the South today.
Dunedin design agency Bold Design and the print room screen printers have just closed off orders for a fundraiser which has exceeded expectations. The two southern businesses say they never imagined they'd raise more than $100,000 for charity. The Curve Crusher. During the COVID-19 pandemic, Dr. Ashley Bloomfield's become a very familiar face with regular updates on the crisis on our TV screens, to the point where he's now a very trusted face. So much so that Dunedin's Bold Design has teamed up with the print room to produce t-shirts and tote bags to raise money for Women's Refuge. The print room's John Tom says the amount they've raised has exceeded expectations.
So we've now closed off the ordering as of end of last week. I think we've raised over $140,000 to be donated to Women's Refuge New Zealand, and I think the total count was around 9,500 units.
Their fundraiser with Bold Design's graphics were given the OK by Ashley Bloomfield himself. And John Tom says it's all part of a wider community-based initiative.
So at the moment we've got about 70 businesses we're working with, and the Bold Curve Crusher design, that's been probably the most successful of the campaigns, is one of those 70 businesses or charities that we're working with.
He says they're giving casual staff more hours during the project, which is still in production.
Some of our casual staff who work in our busier times of the year have fortunately been available, so we brought them back on board and converted a container that we have here into a dispatch zone. So yeah, that's managing all the shipping the stock out.
Although he says orders have now closed. In Dunedin, the South Today. And after the break on the South Today, we check in with social service agencies in Queenstown helping those in need and have a look at the weekend's weather. See you soon.
Step into Op Shop on St Andrew and discover a place with plenty of bargains for yourself, your friends and the whole family. We have new items arriving every day. Visit us for a fabulous range of economy and upmarket clothing, accessories, books, shoes and more. Shop with us and support your community.
A poorly maintained heat pump can lose up to 35% of its output. The Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner team are experts. Their specially developed chemical wash is totally biodegradable. Call Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner and get the job done by the professionals.
Every reason, every season, we're proud to dress the region. Alex Campbell Menswear, it fits.
Do you know Youth Grow in North East Valley? It's an awesome plant nursery where young people can work and learn life skills. You can now order your vegetable seedlings, herbs, bulbs and shrubs over the phone or by email. Either pick up your order on Norwood Street in North East Valley or they can deliver to you. Look for Youth Grow Garden Centre on Facebook or visit youthgrow.org.nz. Happy gardening!
Heaven Sent Pet Cremations knows that losing a pet is like losing a family member, and we have many special ways for you to keep their memory dear to your heart. From caskets, remembrance pendants to remembrance fairs. Call Heaven Sent Pet Cremations today. Wrens are Otago's painting, tiling and plastering experts. Offering a free measure and quote, Wrens is a name you can trust to get the job done right. Call Wrens today on 477 9384 or visit wrens.co.nz.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم المؤمن المهيمن العزيز الجبار المتكبر.
No mai no, welcome back. With COVID-19 forcing many people out of work in the Wakatipu Basin, social services agencies in the region have never been busier. Queenstown's Salvation Army says they're only just keeping up with the increased demand.
Social services across the Wakatipu Basin have never been busier as the impact of COVID-19 starts to take hold. Queenstown Salvation Army Director of Community Ministries, Lieutenant Andrew Wilson, says last week the organisation assisted on a total of 106 clients, some more than once, with food parcels, household goods, clothing and linen.
We've been helping a lot of particularly migrants who have been made redundant and so have absolutely no income during this time, at least ensure that they've got food in their bellies so that they can hopefully use that money to either pay their rent or other sort of utilities just to get by in these crazy times.
Wilson says while it seems demand has peaked, his team expects a second wave of people needing assistance as the government wage subsidy comes to an end sometime in June.
One of the main considerations we're looking at is what happens when the wage subsidy comes to an end. We're aware of a number of families and people who are just holding on to their jobs because of the wage subsidy, and once that comes to an end, there is the likelihood of them losing their jobs as well, and so we'll have that sort of second wave of need on our services.
As well as helping others, Wilson says the Salvation Army is also dealing with the transition from Level 3 to Level 2 and what that means for its services and the family store. In Queenstown, the South today.
Time now for a look at the weather.
Tonight's weather proudly brought to you by Mole Map.
And beginning with a shot of yesterday's dawn looking down Otago Harbour from the Molars. And looking at the situation, a fine weekend lies ahead as a ridge of high pressure covers the South Island from an anticyclone in the Tasman Sea. Expect frosty nights, especially inland, with cool and sunny days. In the southern towns, light winds and fine weather are the orders of the day. The Catlins and Balclutha head for 13 degrees, while Lumsden and Gore should reach 14. Heading to the Central Lakes, you're also due for light winds and fine weather. Wanaka and Alexandra head for 15, Queenstown should reach 14, and Te Anau you're due for 13 degrees. In the northern towns, light winds and clear skies reign supreme here. Timaru and Oamaru aim for 14, while Twizel and Omarama are both expecting 15 degrees. In Dunedin tonight, it should be fine with light northerlies and an overnight low of 5 degrees. It'll be cold tomorrow with clear skies and light winds. Expect a high of 13 and a brisk low of 1 degree. It'll be similar weather for Sunday, fine with light winds, a high of 14 and a low of 1 degree. And heading to Invercargill, it'll be fine tonight with light winds and frosts highly likely with an overnight low of 2 degrees. It'll be fine with sunny periods tomorrow with some light cloud. You'll have a high of 14 and a particularly chilly low of 1 degree. It'll be mostly fine on sunny on Sunday with light winds, expecting a high of 14 and a low of 2. And that's all from the South Today team for this Friday, and in fact for the week. For the latest news from the southern region, head online to odt.co.nz and follow Channel 39 on Facebook and YouTube. Have a great weekend, enjoy the loosening of restrictions, but let's be careful out there. Ka kite anō. See you on Monday.
This bulletin proudly brought to you in association with Alex Campbell's Menswear.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.